Good morning, everyone. Sarah here at Three Little Potters. Today I am reviewing Kentucky Mudworks Brown Bear Clay. Um, very cool clay. It surprised me both with throwing and with the results. So I'm going to get into it. First, I'm going to start off with some throwing, and then I'm going to end this video with some examples of different glazes on the clay. So if you're not interested in the full review, you can always sort of skip toward the end where there'll be some more glaze examples for you. I have a stack of clay squares. I have not tried this clay before. The dark clay that I used to use is standard 266. And my problem with that clay is that, well, nothing really. It's an awesome clay, but I often get sort of rough rims with my dark clays. So I would love to find a dark clay that is smoother. So I have a lot of hope for this. I think Sarah over at Perrin Pottery told me it shrinks a lot, so maybe I'll throw a little generously. It feels like chocolate pudding. I think this is really even more buttery smooth than B-Mix even. It's like, yeah, it feels like chocolate pudding. It feels like something that you should be like rubbing on your body at a fancy mud spa or something. It's that smooth. Yeah, it feels like, I don't know, maybe you'd use this for a facial or something. Don't worry, I'm not going to rub it on my face. It feels good though. I'm not sure what's in it. I'm sure there's stuff in there that maybe you don't want on your face. I don't know. I am a little low in iron. Usually when I'm pushing down on the clay, I can feel if there's any extra bumpiness, or like you can almost feel when there's an air pocket inside of something, and then you can kind of adjust accordingly. I feel like the walls are going thinner than I want them to go. Am I pushing too hard? I don't know. Okay. So I think now that I'm about 20 pieces in, I would say that this is not as plastic as the Dark Star, but it is about like throwing with B-Mix. Your ability to push it in and out is not endless with B-Mix. If you start to push in too fast, you can kind of get a little bit of buckling. And I would say the same is holding true for this brown bear. So I am throwing this whole bag of clay in one sitting, because I have found when I'm testing new clays that if I don't do that, I'll throw a few pieces and then something will happen where I don't like the glaze on one or something, and then I'll just let the bag sit for too long, and then I'll wish I could go back and get a test on that clay. And it requires a lot of work to rehydrate the clay to get it back to a workable consistency. So it's better if I just throw it all and have the biscuit pieces ready to go. The downside of that is that if I am having a problem with this clay pinholing or doing something like that, then I won't be able to adjust my bisque schedule to try to fix that. So with some of these, I believe this is an iron ridge clay. I haven't looked into the formula of it, But with some of those kinds of dark clays, you can get a lot more off-gassing than you normally would. So my bisque load lately has been running fairly hot. So I think I'm probably bordering on cone 03 right now with my bisque. I think that this clay will be fine with my current bisque schedule, and I should be able to find at least a few glazes that work well on it. I think if you're used to throwing with B-Mix, you won't have any trouble with brown bear. I feel like they throw pretty much identically. I'd like to make more bowls with this clay, but I am not throwing on bats, and bowls are very hard to get off without warping, or at least in the thickness that I throw them. If I'm doing bowls, I'll usually go ahead and use my bats for that, but since I'm predominantly oh, this is not coming off at all. I am destroying this bowl. Well, it'll probably be okay. So the throwing of this clay was obviously really dreamy to work with. It's like, you know, being in a mud spa or something like that. This is what the clay looked like when it came out of the bisque. Before we start talking about the glaze examples, I will say that this clay has some cracking issues if you're throwing unevenly. So where my cups, I didn't have any cracks on my cups because I definitely trimmed these and made sure they were very much the same. With my tiny ring dishes, I'm a little bit less controlled. And you can see here, I have a lot of S cracks on any that had a bottom that was thicker than the rims. So I threw, did I throw 34 of these ring dishes out of this clay, and 3 have cracks. So, you know, in the future, I'll be a little bit more careful, but when I'm cutting these off the hump, it's often hard to gauge the exact thickness. And then it's also hard when you're tapping while you're trimming to see if you really got that even when it's such a small item. That's brown bear's only downside at this point that I can find is just, you know, washing your throwing, making sure you're throwing evenly. Kentucky Mudworks describes this clay as nice, super smooth plastic clay body. Yeah, I would agree with that. That sounds pretty accurate. Shrinkage for this clay is 15%, and the absorption at cone 6 is 0.5%. So a very, very good tight clay. One of the things that really impressed me as I started to pull the glazed pieces out of the kiln is just where it breaks along the rim. Not only am I getting a smooth rim, but I'm also getting like just a really pretty color gradient there. I really love that look, and it's almost like a slight matte to gloss right there. It feels very buttery smooth. This combination here is variegated dove gray with strontium gloss over it. Now, this combination on other clays is more of a pinkish, grayish kind of with some purple highlights in it. Here it's gone very neutral. The dove gray is almost a little bit brown, but I do kind of like that as an alternative look for that glaze combination. Zoom in a little bit here on my photo table. This is Makos Birch and Cordovan and Light Flux combination. So Studio White on the inside. Yeah, I'm really loving the way this combo looks on this clay. It's definitely got some really, really pretty variations in it. And love it with the raw clay body showing too. I think that's really pretty. Spectrum Sunrise over Studio White on Brown Bear. You'll notice that many of these combos I'm showing are over Studio White. Dark clays have a tendency to absorb the color from some glazes. So even more so than normal, I will often do a white base coat to kind of let those colors pop. Here we have Spectrum's Tiger's Eye. And I believe this one is just Spectrum's Tiger's Eye. I did not do the white underneath this one. Dove Gray, Strontium Gloss, and look, I did lie. This one has a crack on the bottom as well. I don't feel like it's thicker there, maybe just too fast of a drying time. So the website had some notes about slow firing, maybe firing a little bit hotter in your bisque to sort of, solve any glaze problems that you're having. So Mako, Laguna, Amico, and all of my mixed glazes worked fine on this clay body without me having to do a special firing schedule. Just my normal slow-ish glaze firing and my normal Cone 04 bisque was enough to get good results with this clay. I will say that the Laguna glaze did crawl a little on those edges. Now, as to whether or not that's my application or not, I'm not sure. And I do see like a couple little pinholes in the center there. So, so every commercial glaze but Laguna did well on this. Amico's Fire Brick Red over Honey Flux on the Brown Bear. Again, no pinholes, no crawling, no real issues that I can find. Rising Sun Chang. That's a mixed glaze. You can find the recipe on glazy.org if you're interested. Chun Seafoam. Again, those rims just really, really pretty, I think. And the glazed body just feels very, very smooth. Rims are smooth. It definitely gives a pretty, pretty look to it. These two are Sunrise and a little bit of Tiger's Eye mixed in with that Sunrise. I really love how it's pooling. I think that that's really, really pretty. That edge, yeah. My final thoughts on Brown Bear clay are, it is awesome. I have found my new brown clay. I went out to the Portland Pottery Supply Store and I bought a whole bunch more of that clay. So I'm really excited to be able to offer a good, sturdy, stable brown clay in my shop in the coming year. And yeah, I'm really excited to use it. So maybe it'll be a good clay for you too. Thanks for watching.